So thank you everyone for joining us today for this webinar to discuss the NJEDA Phase 4 Small Business Emergency Assistance Grant. Today we have some panelists joining us to kick this off. And I would like to first introduce myself. I am Vania Abdul Badi from 360 Marketing and PR. And with us, we have Miss Valerie J. Cofield. She is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Eastern Minority Supplier Diverse Development Council. Sorry, it's such a mouthful, the EMSDC. Since 2014, Ms. Cofield has been using her many years working in business development and supplier diversity to spark and facilitate business partnerships between EMSDC's corporate members and its certified minority business enterprises. As a creative thinker with invaluable experience in contract negotiations, strategy development, and opportunity identification, Ms. Cofield embodies EMSDC's role as a connector and facilitator for business opportunities and is the consummate diversity and inclusion champion. Ms. Cofield is motivated by the desire to position EMSDC as a leader in the industry, continuing to prepare MBEs to successfully engage with the supply chains of its corporate and institutional members while making the case for supplier diversity. She is also focused on ensuring that certified MBEs, diverse suppliers, meet the current and future needs of the supply chain and are positioned to bring value and solutions to the procurement process. Ms. Cofield currently serves on Governor Tom Wolf's Advisory Council on Diversity, Inclusion, and Small Business Opportunities. She is a member of the city's Philadelphia's Rebuild Oversight Board, as well as serving on the Office of Economic Opportunities Advisory Council. Ms. Cofield serves on numerous boards and committees, but she is most proud of the 10 years she served as a Girl Scout leader. Her many achievements include Diversity Plus Magazine 2020 Top 25, Empower Impacting Diversity Award, 2019 PBJ Woman of Distinction Award, 2019 PBJ Most Admired CEO Award, Diversity Plus Magazine 2015 Top 30 Supplier Diversity Professionals, and a host of other accolades and awards. She is an alumnus of Franklin and Marshall College, where she earned her Bachelor of Arts. Thank you, Ms. Valerie Cofield, for joining us today. I'm also going to introduce Mr. Terrence Clark. He is the current president and CEO of the New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council. And at the council, Mr. Clark provides operational oversight and carries out full management and operational responsibilities for the council staff, including personnel, administration, work delegation, and performance evaluations. He also provides supervision and direction related to the council program areas and activities in the council's market areas, which are the state of New York and New Jersey up to the Trenton area. He began his career with the United States Small Business Administration, where he served as the Assistant Director for Management Assistance, managing and providing management consulting and training services to SBA clients in the downstate 14 counties of New York. He is a graduate of Hunter College of the City University of New York, where he earned his bachelor's degree in economics. Also joining us are members from the NJEDA team, Ms. Michelle Bowden. And I am going to allow Ms. Michelle Bowden to introduce herself and what she's currently doing. She's doing some great work at the NJEDA. We also have Ms. Patience Purdy from NJEDA joining us, and Rachel Gomez. So let's get started first with Ms. Michelle Bowden. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vanita. And I want to thank Valerie and Terrence for bringing this webinar together so that we could, come and just explain a bit about this phase, this latest tranche, this phase 4 funding of the emergency grant and all that entails. You know, we really, we tried to get very specific and get, you know, really narrowed in on our audiences and how it relates to, and what this grant phase, who and what this means for, you know, the population and for the constituents of New Jersey. And it's, you know, obviously no secret that we are really focused on small businesses, small underserved businesses, specifically those Black and brown businesses that have been hit the hardest by the pandemic. And we want to ensure that the constituents of the state get this information in a timely fashion, and you know, have the information that is needed for you know, businesses to apply for this funding. We want to ensure that you know, the information is out there, and so that's why we put together these really concentrated webinars to target the public in that way. You know, National Minority Supplier Diversity Council is a important organization, you know, within the business community and within the minority business community. You know, I obviously, you know, have an affinity because I've worked personally with them for many, many years in previous careers and in previous positions. And, you know, it's very important that we ensure that we're supporting our, you know, our stakeholders that are out in the community, and NMSDC is absolutely one of them and one of the important ones. So, you know, I won't take up too much time because I want to ensure that, you know, Patience has, you know, the time she needs to really go through the presentation. You know, I'll maybe say a word or two in between the slides, but Patience is absolutely the subject matter expert as it relates to our grants and how, you know, the differences, the nuances that, you know, we're going to try to alert you to. But for the most part, I will say that, you know, one of the most important things is that this time, similar to the last round, there is a pre-registration that has to be done. And so we want to ensure that people know about the pre-registration, because if you don't pre-register, you will not be able to apply when the window opens for the, you know, for the funding. So that's a big deal, but Patience will go through all of that. I just wanted to, you know, just to highlight that. And I wanted to say thank you for having us and for always being such a strong partner, you know, with EDA, with the state. And, you know, we always know that when we have programs that need to get out to the public, that we can count on NMSDC to help us do that. So that's all I'll say.
Thank you, Michelle. So Valerie, would you like to say a few words before we go on to Terrence?
Oh, absolutely. I just, first of all, want to say thank you for this opportunity. Michelle, thank you always for the continued partnership with NJEDA. Vania, one of the things that was left off of my very long bio that I hope I never have to listen to ever again is that EMSDC also, through my representation, sits on NJEDA's Offshore Wind Oversight Advisory Board. And so, and that's critically important for us. Today is critically important because as we continue the process of rebuilding and restarting our economy and ensuring that our businesses are in a position to survive and thrive. This grant fund that is being put forward, this phase 4 of the grant fund being put forward by NJEDA is critically important. It's important from an EMSDC perspective because Eastern covers Pennsylvania, Southern New Jersey, and Delaware. And what we know is that in Southern New Jersey, our businesses support or generate $1.3 billion in total GDP contribution. These are businesses certified by EMSDC. We support over 5,000 jobs. We support over $336 million in income revenue. And we also have 2,600 businesses that are employers. Our employers our businesses employ 2,600 persons. This is important. And while these numbers are not, the grant dollars are small, they are significant for a small business in terms of continuity of their business, payroll, meeting rent and supply obligations. And so we just want to thank NJEDA and the state of New Jersey for its continued efforts to help restart and stabilize our minority business community in general. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Valerie. We appreciate you. All right, Terrence, would you like to say a few words as well?
Sure. And good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well and everybody's safe. Our organization, which is, part of the NMSDC network and closely affiliated with Valerie's organization, we're looking at what we need to do and what needs to be done to help minority businesses develop and grow. That development and growth not only kickstarts the economy, it also helps more people, because as the businesses are doing better, more people are employed. So it's a economic and community development opportunity that our particular organizations look at as we try to get more people involved in the United States economy, and certainly in the economy in New Jersey. As many parts of the Northeast, New Jersey took quite a hit over the last year because of COVID-19. A lot of people's businesses had to change and pivot. We keep hearing that word pivot all the time. A lot of people are in a position with it. There are some that even went out of business. What we're trying to make sure of, and why I'm pleased that we're partnering with New Jersey EDA, is to make sure that those businesses that are existing are in a position to thrive, or in a position to move forward, in a position that not only are they going to be able to do business as they did before the pandemic, but do business better and do business in a wider and a broader stroke. Those things are important. Our organization is not only about certifying businesses, it's about helping businesses grow and develop through a variety of programs, connecting with people. And these types of programs, like the grant program through EDA, are the type of information we want to make sure that our clients are able to hear. There are various types of ways of getting information. Those that are on this call today are ear witnesses. And an ear witness, you're hearing it firsthand. So you're not hearing it from someone else. You're not hearing it through the grapevine. You're hearing it, and you can then determine how you can take this information and benefit your business. And too many times, minority businesses hear things secondhand. And usually by the time they hear things, it's usually too late. Pie has already been cut and we get the crumbs. So being involved in this today, and those of you that are clients of not only our affiliate, but also Valerie's, you're going to hear exactly what this program is about, how this program can benefit your business, and how that hopefully will help move you forward as you look to grow through 2021 and the years beyond. So once again, I want to thank everybody for our participation, including the New Jersey Minority Supply Development Council. Thank you, Valerie, for putting this platform together. And ladies and gentlemen, please listen carefully. I think that the information you get will be tremendously beneficial. And any way that our council, or those that are our clients, can be of any assistance, feel free to reach out to us. Everybody enjoy. Take care.
Thank you, Terrence. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you both, Valerie and Terrence, for that. Okay, so without further ado, we will get started with the presentation. The reason you all are here today to learn about this Phase 4 Emergency Assistance Grant. So I am going to turn it over to Ms. Michelle and Ms. Patience.
Thank you so much. And Patience is going to pull up her super duper presentation and take it away.
Okay, does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep, we're good. Okay, just
Mhm.
wanted to make sure. Yep. All right, so as previously stated, we're here to talk about the phase 4 of the Small Business Emergency Grant Program. Phase 1 was last April, and here we are again in April, 4 phases later, and $260 million later. So the EDA over the past year has awarded over 55,500 individual grants at this point, totaling at this point now probably over $260 million. This was made, a few weeks ago, and we continue. That's across all of our programs, including the grant program, which has serviced around 44,000 applications for around $214 million. But it includes our loan program, our wildly popular Sustain and Serve program, the personal protective equipment access program that we stood up, as well as loans to support of community development financial institutions in order to allow them to provide support to the communities. We've even done a program that was an entrepreneur support program that provided guarantees for folks that are investing in tech-driven opportunities. So quite a lot of programs over the past year, and here is the one we're talking about today. The total program size for this portion of the grant is $85 million. It's separated into 4 different buckets of funding, if you will, with 35 million reserved for restaurants, 10 million for childcare providers, 25 million for micro businesses, and those are businesses with 5 or fewer full-time equivalent employees. So if you're a sole proprietorship with no employees, that's you too. I know it says 1, it should say 5 or fewer. And then all other businesses, those are businesses with between 6 and 50 full-time equivalent employees. That's a $15 million bucket. I know it was stated earlier, but pre-registration is open now. It opened on April 19th. It will close this Thursday, the 29th at 5 p.m. So you should log on and get started. And as you're thinking about doing that, here's some information for you to know. The program and link to the application is available at business.nj.gov/COVID. As when you go to that site, before you click through the application, we're going to suggest that you read through the FAQs, you read through the article on the program, that you watch the video walkthrough of the pre-registration and look at the sample application that is there for you. All of those things are going to make your pre-registration process so much easier. And then once that's done, once you've pre-registered and you've gotten your confirmation email saying that your pre-registration is submitted, you're going to come back and apply. And there are specific dates for people to apply on. The first date is May 3rd, and May 3rd is for anyone who was not approved or did not apply through our phase 3 program. So if you have never heard of this before and this is your first time, you're coming in on May 3rd. If you applied for phase 3 and were declined, you're coming in on May 3rd. If you didn't receive our phase 3 funding, May 3rd is your day. After that, we'll open the application for the next couple of buckets, which are restaurants and childcare, and that'll be on May 5th at 9 a.m. May 10th at 9 a.m., the application will open for micro businesses, and May 12th for everybody else, 6 to 50. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. If you hadn't received funding from us before, we wanted to get you in first. And then it allows us to stagger that application process because the application is first come, first serve. The pre-registration is not. The pre-registration, take your time, start it, come back to it, whatever you need to do to make sure that you're entering that information correctly, because we also preloaded the pre-registration process with a lot of detailed questions we would typically ask in the application. And we did this to make the application process that much easier for you. So you're going to want to pay attention to your dates. You're going to want to pay attention to the questions that are asked in the pre-registration and watch those helpful videos and look at those sample applications. Now, is it hard to figure out when you apply? It is. So we have this wonderful, and I love it, and someone told me it's good. Everybody's a different kind of learner, so different visuals help, and we have a flow chart. So were you approved during phase 3? No. Okay, you apply on May 3rd. Yes, you were approved during phase 3. Now we're going to ask you, what kind of business were you?
Were you a restaurant or childcare provider? Yes. Then you're going to apply on May 5th. No, you weren't. Do you have 5 or fewer full-time equivalent employees? If yes, then you apply on May 10th. And if no, then apply on May 12th. So I believe that the organizations hosting us are going to email out this presentation for you. So if you like the flow chart, use that. If you like the number line approach, use the one before.
Yeah, and I just want to pause there for 1 second, patients, just to make sure that people really take that in because it's important. Those dates are important because if you don't get in on those dates specific to your particular situation, you're not going to be able to apply, right? So please, 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 focus on those dates, focus on the fact that, pre-registration is open now. And you have until, what was that, Thursday, patients to
Thursday at
pre-register? Thursday at 5 to end pre-registration ends Thursday at 5. Okay. And then from that point, you have to go either flow chart way or linear way and know when your dates are, because we cannot, we can't mix buckets in other words. So if you're applying on a day that you are not supposed to be applying on, you're not going to get funding. Okay, so that's the important thing to take away from here. Okay, but yes, you're going to get the slides. You will see this again. You will have this for your own records. You'll be able to go back and look. And as patients said, go on that the COVID site, take a look around, read, look at the videos, get familiar, pre-register, take your time, and then you'll be ready. Okay.
So we're going to walk through some basic eligibility requirements and some specifics for some applicants. So for restaurants are considered food services or drinking places in your NAICS code, which is your North American Industry Classification System Code. It's a big, long word. You can search that at NAICS.com, by the way. We also, in order to enter it when you get into the pre-registration, there's a search in there too. But knowing it ahead of time is helpful, particularly if you're a restaurant. It must start with 722. You must have a physical location in New Jersey. You must be registered to do business in New Jersey and in good standing with Department of Labor or anyone else you're regulated by. So if you're a restaurant and you're regulated by Alcohol and Beverage Control, you must be in good standing with that. You must certify to a negative impact of the emergency. That's not a specific negative impact. There are several examples that are provided for you. And you'll see that on the business.nj.gov/COVID site. Did you have to reduce your workforce? Did you have a supply chain problem? Did you have a reduction in revenue of 20%? Just certifying that there was a negative impact due to the pandemic and the closures that happened around it. Across all buckets of funding, the specific amounts for your size of employment are going to stay the same. So 5 or fewer is $10,000 of your max award. 6 to 25 is a $15,000 max award, and 26 to 50 is a $20,000 max award. We're going to move on to childcare. That's a $10 million bucket. And again, there's a NAICS code associated with childcare that you must have. And that must be associated with you in order to apply during this bucket. And that's 624410. You've got the same basic eligibility requirements with the addition of, if you are licensed by the Division of Children and Families, then you must be in good standing with the Division of Children and Families. A large amount of childcare providers are what are considered family providers that are serving 5 or fewer children in their entity. Those are not required to be licensed. So it's, if you are required to be licensed, then you must be in good standing. And again, the amounts of the grants are the same, with 5 or fewer at 10,000, 6 to 25 at 15, and 26 to 50 at 20,000. Micro businesses, max grants of up to 10,000, because this is specific to the 5 or fewer. Physical location in New Jersey. A lot of you may be wondering, I have a home-based business. Yes, home-based businesses are absolutely eligible. That's your physical location. And again, up to $10,000. And then everybody else, 6 to 25 and 26 to 50, not a restaurant, not a childcare. Physical location in New Jersey. This slide has a bullet that I think is applicable to all the slides. Yes, most businesses and nonprofits are eligible. So there may be questions that you have to answer in addition to the basics, depending on what kind of nonprofit you are, but that doesn't make you ineligible. Just answer the questions as they relate to your particular business. Required information. Again, we're going to encourage you to read that, to look at that sample application. I'm going to walk through slide by slide what this application looks like, and that's what you're also going to be able to view on the website. The best thing you can do is view the video walkthrough. The video walkthrough is a little bit more extensive. It will also walk you through what getting onto our portal and registering is like, which is where we've seen a little bit of where folks need a little bit more help, right? So getting registered on our portal and then starting the pre-registration. Have your contact information, your primary business address, whether or not you've received other assistance, whether it was federal assistance, county assistance, or our previous phases of grants. Make sure you know what you received or did not receive and how much that was. You'll want to use your business's full legal name. You'll need to know your entity type, when you were established. For example, in order to qualify for the program, business needs to have been operational and established prior to February 15th of 2020. So that's an important date to know. You'll need your tax ID number. Then we're going to start asking you about, because the grants and which bucket you're in are based on your full-time equivalent employees, you're going to want to know what your number of full-time equivalent employees is for the most recently filed WR30, which for most of you should be Q4, but could be Q3 if you haven't quite filed Q4 yet. We're also going to ask you your peak full-time equivalent employee headcount from the past 8 quarters. And there's a reason for this. We know that a business looks different today than it looked a year ago. So we're going to ask you, when did you have your largest amount of employees? Because we want to award you in a grant the way your business was prior to the pandemic, not necessarily what you look like now, because the goal is to get you back eventually, right? We're all looking to get back to being whole again. There's the NAICS code classification, something that you can start right now. Just Google NAICS.com and you can enter keywords in there that'll tell you about your business. And then we're going to ask you for your 2019-2020 annual revenue. That's gross annual revenue. That is not inclusive of any relief funding that you've received. We're going to ask that question separately. And your revenue loss due to COVID. You must be registered to do business in the state of New Jersey, as evidenced by a current registration status from the New Jersey Division of Taxation. If you're not recognized by the Division of Taxation, and that can happen for a number of reasons that I don't think we need to go into, but in case that does happen, we're going to ask you to provide us with a valid business registration certificate. If you can't do that, we're going to give you some time to take care of that situation, but that's something that you can get started on now. And on the business.nj.gov/COVID site, I say it enough, you'd think I get it right. There is a link to where you can check that out and see if you do have a business registration certificate. We will not issue a grant agreement without a current registration status from taxation or a valid business registration certificate. Again, we're going to give you time to work that out on the back end, but it is better to just get that process started now if you know you need to. And again, Michelle, I think you can speak to this because your group oversees this portion of it. As far as opportunity zones and language assistance.
Yes, so we are as similar as we have done in the past phases. We have a, for lack of a better word, a portioned out set aside for businesses that are located in the opportunity zone census tracts. But the difference is the eligible opportunity zone census tracts. I shouldn't say that was a difference because we've done that. We started doing that in phase 2 of the funding, and we found that it was very effective in reaching the the businesses that are listed in those communities. I mean, we We know it's not a perfect science, but we really try to target and reach Black and brown businesses that were located there, and and all of the underserved businesses that are in those opportunity census eligible tracks. It's not just the zones, the actual zones. It's the 700, I think it's 700 and almost 714, 15 that are eligible to be considered census opportunity zones. So that's important. So a third of the of this funding round has been reserved for those businesses specifically. And then, it's all done on the back end. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to, like put anything in, any narrative about it. Our systems automatically calculate based on the address of the business, whether or not it falls into, the eligible census tracts. So that's the good piece of that. The other thing is we've ensured, and we started doing this in phase 2 as well, to ensure that we have equitable access to the applications. We have now the second most used language in the state of New Jersey is Spanish. So all of our application, our COVID business site is all stood up in English and in Spanish. So, that is something that, just through the governor's, wishes and governor's office example, we really wanted to make sure and ensure that we had a way for folks to, to access our programming, no matter what language they speak. So now with the other languages, the other popular languages that are in the state, there's 10 or 11 others based on census data that many folks in New Jersey speak and write or, read. We have set up our language access process, wherein if you need to have the application, or if you need to see the, the information that's listed on the COVID site, the frequently asked questions, we have provided those frequent FAQs, we call them, in the other top languages. They're already there. They're already translated into that native language. However, we also know that beyond that, there may be some assistance needed as it relates to questions. You have folks, Patience has, she manages the call center that, we have stood up since phase 1 to answer questions, to field calls about, the grant, all of the grant funding and all of the programming as it relates to emergency grants and, the COVID emergency grants and loans. And with that, though, there are some questions, people have questions, they go on, they can't get on, for whatever reason. We want to make sure that folks who cannot speak English and or Spanish have a way to get answers that they need. So we have set up a language access email mailbox, and so you can, and it's pretty clear, the instructions are pretty clear on the site how you access the language assistance. We would set you up with an interpreter if need be, but we've pretty much gotten it down to a science. We've kind of figured out a lot of the questions, the commonly asked questions about the grants and the phases and just how to apply. And we tried to really think it through and to have prepared the questions, the commonly asked questions in those 11 or so odd languages. But I just want to let you know, to say all that, if you speak another language besides English, we have you covered. We will make sure that we provide you the assistance that you need. Okay, so it's out there. Please utilize it. And that's it.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it. Okay, so here we go with the pre-registration. We're going to show you just what it looks like. We're going to say this again. Pre-registration is open now. It's open through 5 p.m. on Thursday, the 29th. Do this. You must do this in order to apply. Here again is the schedule. If you didn't receive funding from us in phase 3, Monday, May 3rd, restaurants and childcare providers who did receive funding from us, 9 a.m. on Wednesday, May 5th. Micro businesses who did receive funding from us in phase 3, 9 a.m. on Monday, May 10th, and small businesses who did receive funding from us on 9 a.m. on May 12th. Again, if you did not receive phase 3 funding, you apply on May 3rd. Whether you were declined or you didn't apply, doesn't matter if you were not approved for phase 3 funding, May 3rd. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is come to our application center. And again, this is linked from the business.nja.gov/COVID site. So you don't have to go searching for it, but it's not a bad thing to bookmark once you get there, because you're going to come back to it for your application. But go to the other site first, read everything, then come in. You're going to either register or sign in, and that's going to depend on your particular situation. If you've never been there before, never seen anything like this, you're going to register. Now, if you received phase 2 funding from us or funding through another source at another time, anything but phase 3, when you do this, you may get a little window that says, we recognize your email address. It's not saying you're registered, it's saying we've seen you in our system somewhere and we need to send you an invitation code. Click OK, click send the invitation code. It goes to your email and then follow the steps. It's that simple. But if you're just starting out, you're going to click register. You're going to enter your email. When you enter your email, look at it. Look at it 75 times. This is the main way that we are going to communicate with you. And if your email isn't correct, you're not going to get those communications from us. You're going to create a username. Your username can be whatever you want it to be. Make it something you're going to remember and write it down. And you're going to create a password. Then you're going to click register. After you click register, we're going to ask you for some information, first name, last name, phone number, your organization name. Everything on there that has a red asterisk is required. If there's not a red asterisk, it's not required. So don't worry if you don't have a website. Once you do that, you click update, and then we say, hey, we need you to confirm your email. Why did we do this? Is this a little bit of a hassle? Is this an extra step? This is because we need to make sure we have your email correctly. We want to communicate with you. We want to tell you you're approved, and we're going to do that via email. And I know that's what you want to know. So click confirm email, go to your email account. When you get that, click through, very easy, come back, and you get to the page where you start your pre-registration. As you can see here, where it says start my pre-registration, underneath it is application ID, organization name, status reason, employer identification number, created on and modified on. When you start your application, you're considered your pre-registration, you're considered in process. So if you were to leave the system and come back, you could sign in and you would see that application ID listed under application ID. In case there are folks on this webinar that have been in there and have some questions like that, you may have started several on accident, on purpose, not knowing what the best way to continue through is. If you've entered your employer identification number, that's the only one you can complete. So if you have a list of 3 application IDs and one of them has your employer identification number, that's the one that you need to complete. And then once you hit submit, it's going to tell you that your pre-registration is submitted. So when you log back in, that's what you'll see. The first page of the actual pre-registration is contact information. Are you an authorized signer for the business entity? Maybe you're not the owner. Maybe you're the accountant. Whoever you are, you must be an authorized signer for the entity, and you must tell us that that's what you are. Your legal registered business name. Some of you may be sole proprietors, that when you registered your business, you registered under your name. Put that on there. That's your legal registered business name. You may also have a DBA. And my example is, if I registered under Patience Purdy, that's my legal business name, but my shop is Patience's Peppermint Shop, and that's my DBA. So make sure that you enter that information correctly in those 2 lines. Your business address. This is the street address that you used when you registered your business. When you get to the part about zip code, you're going to click on the magnifying glass that you see there, and you're going to enter your zip code. It will have a drop-down menu. You'll select the correct zip code, and that will move you on to city. You'll click the magnifying glass again. And the best example I can think of this is because if you enter a zip code, for example, here in Mercer County, Your zip code may be associated with Trenton, Lawrenceville, Ewing, or Hamilton. And you're going to want to select which city applies to you from that dropdown. Then the state and the county will pre-populate on its own. We're going to ask you if it's a commercial location, is it a home-based business? Again, home-based business is fine. Say yes if you're a home-based business. Home-based businesses are eligible. Some more organizational details. When was your business established and operational? Again, this needs to be on or before February 15th of 2020. And if you enter a date that is not on or before February 15th of 2020, we're going to tell you right there when you do it that you're not eligible for the program. We're going to ask you if you're still in operation as of today. Some of you may have had to shut down for a while. That doesn't mean that your business isn't in operation. That means you had to shut down because of the pandemic, but you're still an operational business and you're going to open again. You've maintained all of the things that you needed to maintain to be considered operational, and maybe your doors aren't open at this exact moment, but you anticipate they will be next week, next month. You've maintained your operational status of the business. We're going to ask you the ownership structure of the business and to list all owners with a 10% or greater ownership share. You'll click on owner name, enter that person's name, and then you can click again if there are multiple. Your employer identification number, hugely important. When you enter this, again, I'm going to say it like the email, look at it 75 times, compare it, make sure it's correct. This is how we're going to pull information with our sister agencies on whether or not you're in good standing. We're going to pull WR30 information this way. And if it comes out, if it's entered incorrectly, that's going to slow your approval process, is the big bummer there, right? We're going to need to reach out to you and verify some things, and your approval won't happen quite as quickly. We're going to ask you to certify that your business is properly and fully registered in the state. And there's the link, and it's in the application, and it's also on the business.nj.gov/COVID site, where you can check and see if you can pull your business registration certificate. We're going to ask you if you file your taxes under Schedule C or E. You're going to answer these based on your individual business and what you do. Do you file a WR30 with New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development? Do you utilize a professional employment organization to file that WR30? Answer for your specific business. The question and answers that are up here are just so that I could get the drop-down menus to show. So ignore everything I've written in there. That's not your business. Answer for your business. The number of full-time, if you file a WR30, we're going to ask you, as I said earlier, the number of full-time employees reported on your Q3 or Q4 WR30 and part-time employees listed on your WR30. We're also going to ask you to list 1099 employees if you have them. Those do not count towards your full-time equivalent employee count, but we want to know about your business. We want to know who we're serving. So we're asking questions that are going to help us and inform programs going forward. So this is information that we need to have. Your 2019 and 2020 annual revenue. Again, that's gross revenue and does not include any other assistance grants and things that are considered relief assistance. Here's where the NAICS code is. Again, there's a magnifying glass there. So it's not going to let you enter your code even if you know it. You're going to click on the magnifying glass, enter your code, and then select it from the drop down. And then here's what I was referring to earlier. In the previous 8 quarters, Q1 2019 through Q4 2020, which quarter did you have your business have the highest employment? Okay, this is more applicable, I think, for the larger small businesses. But you tell us, in Q1 of 2019, did you have 40 employees and now you have 8? We want to know that, and we want to evaluate you based on when your highest employment was. And then we ask you again, in that quarter, did you file a WR30? Oh, here we go. After that, it always confuses me because it looks the same. We're going to ask you which phase 4 program best describes your business. If you're a restaurant and your NAICS code and you've entered it starts with 722, you're going to click restaurant. If you're a childcare provider with the 624410, you're going to click on childcare. And micro and small, micro with 5 or fewer, and small with more than 5 full-time, you need to select the one that is appropriate for you. If you select the one that is not appropriate for you, we are going to send up a warning and say, hey, based on the answers you provided previously, you're not answering this question according to the program eligibility requirements. You can go back and see what you may have done. You can always click previous. And then you can always revise your answer. We're going to ask you if you have a religious affiliation. This does not make you ineligible, but it does provide a drop-down menu, which will ask you some more questions about your use of funds mainly. And lobbying similarly. This does not make you ineligible. You could be a nonprofit that services an industry-specific group, but also does lobbying. We're just going to ask you to give us some more information on that specifically. Select any and all business tax returns you filed 2018, 2019, or 2020 with the state of New Jersey. Duplication of benefits affidavit. We are going to ask you about other programs that you've applied for, and we're going to make it as easy for you as possible because we're going to give you a list, right? Everything that we could think of. If what we could think of is not on there and you've done it, there is an other program funding source that you can select. If there are two things, put them both in the same text box and then combine those amounts when we ask you for it. And again, we're going to ask you, when did you apply? Were you approved? Were you declined? Are you in process? And how much was that for? If you don't know, if you're in process and you don't know what you applied for, we're going to give you a list of the maximum amounts and ask you to use that. Again, we're trying to understand the whole of your business. This part of it does not make you ineligible. We're going to ask you if you're minority owned, woman owned, veteran owned, disabled owned, none, or you don't wish to identify. This does not mean you have to be registered minority owned or registered veteran owned. We want to know the universe of our applicant base. If you want to give us that information, we'd love to have it. If you don't feel like giving us that information, that doesn't affect your eligibility in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
And we're going to ask you some additional details about your business. And the one I like to, there are two that I kind of like to point out. Does your entity host gambling or gaming activities? And we bolded it in red. Selling lottery tickets is not considered gambling or gaming activities. Hosting a fundraiser where you have a tricky tray or you sell raffle tickets is not considered gambling or gaming. If you're doing gambling or gaming that you would run from the police if they saw you, that's what we're looking for. And if you say yes to that, we're probably going to tell you you're not eligible for the grant. And then the next one, the very last one says, does the entity conduct business for any illegal purposes? Don't mistake this one. Any of these that you answer mistakenly are going to delay your approval process because these are going to trigger a further legal review of your application. Now, if you have, if there's an explanation surrounding something that we've asked you for that triggers a legal review, we're going to give you the opportunity to speak to us about that.
To explain. Okay. And I wanted to go back to just that slide, the self-identifying minority, women-owned, veteran-owned slide. As patients said already, they are, self-identifying, so you do not have to be, reiterate, you do not have to be an MSDC certified, you do not have to be state certified to answer that question in how you identify, how you would identify your business. It's what you feel you would be classified as. And so with that, they are voluntary questions, absolutely, but we really, really would love for you to answer those questions because they inform, as patients said in an earlier slide, they inform our programmatic build out for future programs. And so we want to, and we also want to know who's receiving these funds. Like it's a big push federally. Remember, these are federal funds, CARES Act monies that are coming through the state. So we want to know who are receiving the funds. We want to be able to speak to that, and we want to be able to pivot accordingly because of that. So it's very important, that if you feel that you can, that you give us this information, but it in no way has anything to do with your eligibility. In no way does it have any effect on your, you know, on your grant, on your application, by no means. It's really demographic information that we're asking for, okay? Sorry,
Thanks,
patience.
Michelle. No, thank you. So again, legal questionnaire. These are questions that we're going to ask you, and you have to answer them honestly. If it's something that you need to explain for these, you're going to get a drop down that's going to let you explain some things, and we're going to reach out to you for clarification. We're going to make sure that we understand your individual situation. So please just answer everything honestly and to the best of your ability. Oops, I think it went. Privacy Act statement. You're giving us your information. You're giving us your employer identification number, in some cases your social security number, and we're using that information to cross-check through with our other sister agencies to make sure that you are in good standing with labor, taxation, children and families, whatever you might need to be. And these are, we do this to verify your eligibility for CARES Act grants, okay? So you've got to say, you're an agent and an entity and you're good with all of this. And you click yes and you go to next and we're almost there. Your electronic signature. When you get to this page, we're going to show you your EIN number. We're going to show you your email address. Make sure that those are correct. This is your last opportunity to double check them. You need to agree to be bound by an electronic signature. You need to sign off that you're an authorized signer for the organization, and you need to enter the funky little CAPTCHA thing at the bottom. If you get hung up on the funky little CAPTCHA thing, hit refresh, enter it again, and then you're going to hit submit. When you hit submit, your screen is going to look something like this. It's going to give you a MOLA number. The MOLA number on here is not your number. You will get your own unique MOLA number that is your application ID. What I do when I get to this screen, we're going to email you this same exact screen. So you're going to get this in your email. But just in case you've double checked and triple checked and something still was off on your email, screenshot this page. Take a screenshot, save it to your photos, whatever you need to do, because then we're going to be able to find you no problem with this unique identifier for your application. We're going to send you information on when you need to apply for the full application. So if you're sitting back there thinking, they gave us 4 different dates that I need to come in and apply, we're going to send you an email and we're going to say, your date's coming, get ready. And we're going to let you know, because we know when you're supposed to apply. But in this case, you'll have the full list. Our call center number is on here. It's 844-965-1125. And we're staffed Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 a.m. We've got a whole group answering calls, but it's busy. So it may take a little time to get through. However, we should be able to answer just about any question that you ask us on the call center. So if you've got questions, please reach out. If you're wondering how many full-time equivalent employees you have, a link on the business.nj.gov/COVID, maybe the 12th time I've said that, will take you to your grant size estimator and your grant eligibility estimator. You'll take your WR30 information, you'll enter your employee name, their quarterly wages, and it'll push back out what your full-time equivalent employee for number is for that person. Because you may have 30 part-time and varying levels of part-time. And we're going to tell you how we calculate that. So we're going to give you the number based on the calculation that we use. What we're going to ask you on the application, that's going to focus heavily on COVID impact. Were you deemed essential? What capacity were you able to reopen? What's your revenue loss? What is your additional financial need as a result of COVID? And what will you use the grants for? So here's the reason we ask, what do you use the grants for? You cannot use one source of funding, two sources of funding to cover one item. Now, some confusion there. I used my PPP to cover rent. Okay, that's fine. You can't cover the same month's rent with our funds. Or I used my EIDL grant to cover my my last inventory supply order. That's fine. If you have another inventory supply order, use our funds for that. You can't use 2 different funds for one specific funding need.
Okay, patients, I want to ask this. So for this Okay, so, but you can use it for the same issue, but it has to be a different time, right?
If you're speaking like rent or
Yes.
utilities, right? I paid my
Okay.
May utilities with my grant. I'm gonna pay my June utilities with my PPP.
Okay, okay, got it. I think that's
And
clear.
you, as the business owner, are responsible for keeping those records. And
Mhm.
and just given the number of people I've spoken to, please keep good records of this. This is CARES Act funding, it's federal funding. Someone may come and ask you, and you want to be able to easily answer them.
Yes, yes, good point.
Again, our
Good point.
number at the call center is 844-965-1125. All of the information on the grant and all of the webinars and walkthroughs, including, and I'm sorry I missed stating this, we did 2 webinars with the New Jersey Division of Taxation, the
Mhm.
Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services. Those will walk you through, if you're not properly and fully registered with the state, how to get there. And they are amazing. They're going to give you a phone number. They're going to give you an email address to reach out to. Watch those if you're not sure if your business is fully and properly registered. Watch the walkthrough if you haven't been to our site yet. It'll take you through each step of the process and answer, I would say 99.9% of the questions that we typically receive.
Okay, great. Have you seen patients any issues with pre-registration? Anything that we can flag for folks?
So really it's, you know, what we see the most of, what we get the most calls about are folks having trouble logging into the portal or thinking when they go to sign in that they already have a username and password when maybe they don't. So if you have not applied for our phase 3 funding, you probably don't have a username and password. You didn't, there was no need for one on our portal before that. Or so this is the reason for it. But you may know that you've applied for NJEDA grant funding. That's fine. You still need to register and go through the registration rather than just the sign in. So that's where we see a lot of folks want some clarification on that. And I
Okay.
can tell you the walkthrough video starts with that. So if you're not sure, watch the walkthrough video.
Good. Okay, perfect. So, Vania, do you want to, I think we have some questions in the chat that we could possibly answer.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So let's see. All right, so we had several that were already answered, but let's go to Roma. As can I apply while I'm in Chapter 13 bankruptcy? Do I need to mention this on the pre-registration?
Wow, that's a question I've never been asked since phase 1 of our program. I'll be really honest. Give me just a minute. Let me see if I can get that question answered while we're answering others.
Yeah, that's a good
Okay.
question. Good question.
So it looks like all the other questions have been answered in the chat. A lot of people wanted to know if this video recording was going to be available, and yes, it will be available and sent to the participants. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, you are
And
correct.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yes.
And okay, we got a few that just came in, a few questions. Okay, one is I'm a 1099, no W-2. So am I eligible?
Yes, they are eligible because they would be considered, is that a sole proprietor or a
He,
1099? Is he a sole
yes,
proprietor?
sole proprietor.
Yeah, so yes, he would be eligible to apply.
Okay. And can you repeat again the date for a restaurant who is also micro business who did not receive phase 3? And to reiterate, if you didn't receive grant money from phase 3, you can still apply. But can someone please reiterate the date on when the restaurant and the micro business should apply after they've pre-registered?
Okay, so for no, if they have not received any funding, then
No, phase 3 funding.
Phase
phase
3.
three
Very
funding.
specific, phase
Okay.
3 funding.
Phase 3 funding. If they have not received any phase 3 funding, then they apply with everybody else on that first day. That is the, what is that, the May 3rd?
Sure.
3rd, okay. So that first day is when everybody, no matter what their, you know, the kind of business that they have, they would apply on May 3rd if they have not received phase 3 funding. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going
Okay.
to answer your bankruptcy question.
Mhm.
If you're in good standing with the state, you'll also need to answer the other legal questions that are on that application, but you're not automatically ineligible. So that's going to be the best way I can
Yeah.
answer that, is it doesn't automatically make you ineligible.
Yeah, so go ahead and apply, you know, like that's the answer to that. Apply, answer the questions as, you know, as it relates to your particular situation, and then, you know, it will be reviewed. Okay,
Thank you.
don't not apply, that's for sure.
Yeah, don't not apply.
Okay, so
The
I am not-
application does not long, it is not, it is pretty quick. It's pretty simplified. It's
Mhm.
worth your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can get through pre-registration and get to the end of that and get your, you know, your confirmation, you are more like you're 3/4 of the way there, right? So once you get through pre-registration, I feel you're good, you know, and then to get, you know, and then to get back on again to apply for on the actual application, you're, you know, you're almost there with completing the application.
And just to piggyback, if you know, it is worth it. If I had to spend 3 hours to get 10,000 or up to 20,000, I
Yeah.
would do it just to fill that
Yeah,
out. So it's
absolutely.
worth it.
Yeah,
You know, I would spend half the day if I needed to.
yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing is, patients, we are, for this round, we are putting out the sample, what the actual application is going to look like as well.
We will.
right?
That should be up on
Yeah.
the website late tomorrow or early Wednesday.
Mhm.
It's still getting some tweaks made to it. And then the other
Mhm.
side of that is we don't want to confuse people with a sample application and they
Yeah.
come in to pre-register and they're different.
That's right. That's right. So pre-registration is one thing, but then you will also be able to view what the actual application will look like. We'll have the sample out there so that you know what the questions are, you know, and how you should be answering them, because you'll be prepared, right? This is all in trying to get everyone prepared so that when they go on to the actual live application, because it's first come, first served basis, you can get your application up, fill it out, because you already know what the questions are, right? So all you have to do is input your information, because again, it's first come, first serve. So we want you to be prepared and ready at the computer to hit enter, okay?
Okay, we have several others that just came in. I am a nonprofit childcare, so my WR-30 is filed as 0. I think that's what she's.
So if you don't file a WR-30 with employees listed on it, we'll treat you as a 5 or fewer micro business. So you don't have to file a WR-30 to be eligible, but the WR-30 is how we decide if you're 5 or fewer, 6 to 25 or 26 to 50. If you're 5 or fewer, or you don't file WR-30, you fall into the micro business category. You may still be childcare. You fall into the 5 or fewer funding amount, award amount.
Mhm. Okay. This question is from Mujahid. I have been S Corp headquartered in Philly with offices in Plainfield, New Jersey. Are we eligible to apply for the
Your
grant?
business needs to be registered in New Jersey. So if the business is not registered in New Jersey, then no.
Okay, when is the pre-registration again? The pre-registration again is now until the 29th is the deadline.
29th
5
at 5 p.m.
5,
5
yeah,
p.m.
don't wait, Lita, do not wait till Thursday to do it, because you might have questions or you might be
Mhm.
unsure. So do it before then. Do it today, do it tomorrow, but don't wait until Thursday. Okay, so let's see, Maria, as 1099, how should we fill the questions about revenue and questions for Q's forms if we are not a company? I'm not sure I understand that question, but.
So if you don't have 1099 employees, put 0. If you don't have WR30 employees, say no. Answer questions. They're very straightforward questions. What is your 2019 annual revenue? That's gross revenue. What is that's before you pay anything out. What's your gross revenue? 2019 and 2020. So answer them. They're very direct and specific. And you should be able to either have a number for them or a zero.
Mhm. Let's see what else. Oh, Mujahid. So yes, if you're registered to do business in New Jersey, then yes, you are eligible. How do we make a revision to pre-registration to correct any errors?
Okay, so you're going to need to call our call center at 844-965-1125. You're going to need to do that today, because after today, we will not be correcting any pre-registrations. But if you call our call center, again, 844-965-1125 today, they will log it, and later on tonight, we'll send an email out letting you know that we've opened your pre-registration for you. You need to go in, make any corrections or adjustments that you require, and then you will need to hit submit again. If you do not hit submit, it will not be submitted, and you will not move on to the next step.
Mhm.
Okay,
And-
so let's repeat that then. That bears repeating.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
if you have to
will-
make
we are-
corrections, yes.
We're
you
happy
have
to open
do it
it.
today. You have
Yep.
to do it today. You have to call the call center. Patients, put the number, we're going to put the number in the chat as well. So you have to call the call center, and you have to let folks know that you want to, revise something. And then once you get that email this evening, you will be able to go in and make the revisions, and you must hit submit.
Yes.
Okay? That's important. And today is the last day to do that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and the call number, the call center number is in the chat.
In the
so
chat.
Please
Mhm.
look. If I had a company and we had no revenue for 2019 nor 2020, do I still qualify for the grant? And that's from Maria.
So if the lack of revenue is due to the pandemic, and I'm going to envision a scenario that may not be yours, but just to try and if you're a seasonal in 2019 and 2020, sorry, I was thinking 2020. It's going to be hard for us to show the impact of the pandemic, but
Mhm.
you can apply, and we can always talk through what your individual situation is. I would anticipate if you apply and you have no revenue for 2019 and 2020, that your application will either be triggered for a manual review, in which case we'll reach out to you via email. Again, via email. Your application could also be declined. If you get a declination email, again, email, we give you the opportunity to appeal that and tell us why we're either mistaken, or explain your individual situation for reconsideration.
Mhm. Okay, I think that was all that was all of the questions we had in chat. I do see one comment from a panelist saying that they had to send questions to their accountant and pull information from their file. So do not wait until Thursday. Very good point, because a lot of times businesses don't have the information readily available. So you have to check with your accountant or bookkeeper. So great point about not waiting until Thursday. That's very, very important. So at this point, if there are no more questions, oh wait, there is one last
more?
one. Okay, this will be the
Okay.
last one, I think. We registered in 2020 of July. Can I apply? We registered our entity in July 2020. Can I apply?
So your business need to have been established and operational as of February 15th, 2020.
Mm.
Okay. And one question, patient. So say a business pre-registered for phase 3, do they have to go in and pre-register again?
Yes.
Okay.
Completely different pre-registrations. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
That's a good point. Good
Okay.
call out. Okay.
All right. Well,
All right.
great.
Well, it looks like we are we are done with this webinar, and have concluded all of the questions. So I want to thank everyone who attended this webinar, all of the business owners, and all of the entrepreneurs who have attended this webinar. I hope you got the information you needed. And if you didn't, again, the number for the call center is in the chat. The video will be shared. The slides will be shared. And I want to thank our panelists, and I will give the NJEDA the last word to close out our webinar. Thanks again for helping these businesses, and I appreciate everyone who's joined today.
Yes, and we thank you for having us. Again, we want to just make sure that the information is clear and that you have what you need to apply. It's very important. You know, we have these funds, and these funds are for you. So please utilize them. Please, you know, do your research, you know, be informed with the information that's out there. And obviously, you know, call us with any questions. You know, as Patience says, the call center is there. When you may have to wait for a bit to get to someone live, but you will get someone. So please do not hesitate to do so. And we wish you the best. And, you know, we hope that, you know, we will hear from each and every one of you too, to let us know that you've gotten funding. Okay, that would be a success. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to learn today. Okay, thank you so much, and thank you, Patience.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
All right.
Have a nice
Thanks,
afternoon, everyone.
all
Have a
right,
great afternoon and great.
bye-bye.